What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gamer Dad channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So today we're going to be looking at a contrast on the news that's actually going on in the mainstream, which actually stems from some comments and I would say some opinions shared by developers who had in some cases worked on some really big games and in some cases worked on some big games that are not so popular, and their comments towards Elden Ring. Now, many in the space have actually, done retweets and all of this. In fact, the video that actually kind of got me into more research was Youngye's video, where he actually talked about how a Ubisoft dev and a Guerrilla dev actually mentioned something along the lines of how Elden Ring didn't seem to deserve the praise that it's getting. Now, what's crazy is even before that, I'd seen a tweet from a Ubisoft developer to the contrary, actually. And that was actually quite interesting. So I saw the tweet in the morning and then I saw Youngye's video in the afternoon. And I thought to myself, I understand that there might be people around the community who feel differently, and it's nice to contrast both of them. So in this video, we're going to look at a Ubisoft developer that actually praises Elden Ring. Now, this is not just a Ubisoft developer who's just speaking in oblivion. This is a Ubisoft developer that's actually in a space for an RPG game that has worked on 2 RPG games, let me be very specific, that I've played extensively, actually for a total of about 6 years. So it's not something where I'm just picking some random person. This is someone who we know their design in terms of how they've actually put together 3C camera character controls and a whole bunch of other design decisions implemented in 2 AAA games. And, this developer also has extensive experience outside of Ubisoft. And so as much as many may think, everyone's got different opinions, it's nice to get a collective of how developers see all of this. So just today, basically, the 7th of March, Frederick Thailander, who's a Ubisoft developer working on the Ubisoft Star Wars game, by the way, commented and said, Elden Ring is a well-designed game because people like it. Simple as that. That is all that a game needs to do. Now, he's a seasoned game designer, and one of the really cool things about game design is a lot of times I think everyone is, in a sense, throwing all kinds of different ideas as to what they want to see in game design. Now, I have to tell you, there are segments of the community where even Frederick Thailander has served that necessarily don't appreciate a lot of his work. And then there are people within that community who appreciate it. And so at the end of the day, I think developers put themselves in a position where they're like, we want to make these decisions, and we think that that's basically what we feel is going to, go ahead and work. It's a very big deal. Now, he even goes ahead to respond. Someone replied and said something along the lines of, I do love that the game, I love the game, and I think it's holistically well designed, but also that does not mean every aspect of the game is well designed. And, the person, in fairness, in parentheses, said, don't think that's your point, but I've seen a lot of all or nothing takes. Now, he responded with something very critical. He said, my point is that not everything has to be the best. In fact, knowing where to place bets is where to just settle for the minimum, and where to just settle for the minimum is a skill that is the difference between not shipping and shipping games. Elden Ring achieves the one goal games have, and that is, he put a hyphen, to be enjoyed. Now, I wanted to take this opportunity to also mention that this game is not only a game where we have somebody talking about enjoyment. This is a game where word of mouth is very critical. Now, what's crazy is among my peers, colleagues, and, people around me, there is a lot of talk about this game. In fact, from all what we've been talking about, it appears to me that a lot of us who have been playing this game have confessed to one another in some sense, saying, we don't even know how to play this game, but we're just enjoying it. Because for most of us, the Souls games were always out of reach. Sure, maybe some of us would have played, maybe some of us would have actually beaten them. I'm even among the peers of people that I speak to about the game in person. I think I know only one of us that actually beats these games very regularly, very challenging games. And so for the rest of us, it's just a really interesting and nice opportunity to be able to get into the game and feel like we're making progress. And so there are many things within the game that, honestly, they are basically, in a sense, kind of broken and busted, but we like them. Like the way we farm runes in the game. When you go fight these bosses, you really want to go there with your A game. Like, I didn't go to the castle until I was like level 50 and level 60 on the two platforms that I play on. But before I got to level 50 and 60, I went ahead and I did all kinds of rune farming. Used the boulder, I used the little farm in some random place in Kaled, took out that big random dragon that's, laying down there, all of that crazy stuff, so I could get my, stats stronger. I ran around the open world to places where I wasn't supposed to be, into caves, and picked up items, even though I knew once I picked it up, the enemies were going to one-tap me. But I was only satisfied in getting those items because I knew that they could help me. And I think that journey by itself is already a lot more gameplay than many of us have invested in many other games. And what's crazy is, a developer from Horizon Zero Dawn mentioned something about how they felt, the game didn't necessarily deserve, all the praise, especially with the quest design. And I think this is from Youngest video I'm pulling this from. So somebody correct me if I'm actually wrong, or if I'm actually citing this wrong. And I said to myself, that's interesting, because, a lot of these games with a lot of quests can feel really overwhelming. I remember when I finished beating the story for Assassin's Creed, Odyssey, I did not go back for any of the other quests. To me, they just necessarily didn't mean much. But in this game, because the quests are not, constantly reminding me, dinging on the map somewhere saying, hey, you got to go do this quest, the more reason I want to actually do the quest. And I don't want to forget. I'm like, I want to do this quest because, I don't have the luxury of just abandoning it. And sometimes I even find out that in my exploration, when I walk into or encounter a quest, I have all the items already, because I've found myself in random places where I didn't think I was supposed to be, but I had the items. Like one of them was some beast claw quest of some kind, right? I think for this quest, you probably had to have 3 particular items. They're called death roots. So in running around, I had taken out some bosses or whatever it was, and I'd gathered these items. Didn't know what they were. They were just sitting in my inventory. So I see a guy, I go talk to him. I'm like, yo, what's going on out here? And he's like, well, do you want to have the power of this stuff? I was like, sure, I want to have the power. And he's like, all right, I marked this place for you on the map. I was like, what? An NPC marking a place on the map? That was the biggest shock for me in this whole game, because I'd been playing for multiple hours and I hadn't seen anybody mark anything on the map for me. So I go to that location and I'm like, oh, I already know this location. I already know this portal. So I go there, but there's a door I had never opened. I open up the door and there's a beast laying down there. I go over to the beast and I'm like, what do I do? And then a prompt shows up, give the beast this item. So I give the beast that item and it says, how many do you want to give him? It's a max of 3. I had 3 somehow from exploring the world. So I give him 3. Well, I give him 3 and then he gives me all this stuff. I don't even know what this stuff is. And I'm just like, yay, I'm just happy, because that's the idea behind their game design. The enjoyment has basically been restored to gaming through this medium. A game developer that's reputable for making games that are niche, games that are in a segment, has decided that they're going to make a game that anyone who wants to engage in it has the opportunity and is not necessarily closed out like the last set of games that they had made, which is fine. Also, they did not make their game and abandon their original audience. In fact, they made the game with the core experience in mind, so the original audience can do whatever the heck it is they want, play the game as much as they feel, or engage it in whichever direction, and then provide all other options for everybody else. In my opinion, I think they have done something that many game development companies have probably been somewhat shy to do. You see, that's the thing about daring game design. When you make a game that is daring, or when you've always made daring games and daring concepts, anything you do, everyone is just thinking to themselves, is it another daring concept? Because now the Elden Ring concept was more of a, so it's an open world version of Dark Souls. So okay, we're going to go check it out. We're going to see what these bad guys are about. And I think that's where the interest is coming from. So for people who are already, back and forth with this issue, I think they really are being premature in their assessment right now, because things are about to get a lot better in terms of the way FromSoftware is being seen by the community. Their next game is going to have a bigger audience, and I think it's going to be at the core of what it is they usually produce, and they're going to draw more people in. They've given people a taste of how to, basically encounter these games and engage. And if they keep this formula, they're on a good path. But even if they bring back the old formula for a title or two, it still works out for them either way. And so that's basically my own analysis regarding all of this. And I appreciate you guys for hanging out and even taking time to watch the video. Thanks so much for your time and audience. Hopefully we'll talk soon. Peace out.